welcome to Talking Voiceovers with me, Gail Goslin, and Strawberry the Cat, where we interview professionals of the South African voiceover industry to inspire each other and newcomers. Today we'll be speaking to Kavesan Pillay, voice artist and voice coach. Nice to meet you finally.
Yes, you as well, Gail. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks so much for getting me on the show.
So let's go back a little bit. How
Sure.
did you become a voice artist and a voice coach? Where did you grow up?
Great question. I think the number one question I get asked by everybody. So like, oh, that's great, Kav. Some great voices you do. How did you even get into I didn't even know that this was a career. Like, how does one get into this kind of thing? So, I mean, I grew up in Durban in KwaZulu-Natal province here in South Africa, for anyone who's watching overseas. And basically, I attended high school where I was very much involved in performing arts. I loved the performing arts, doing drama. Joined drama academy in school, outside of school as well as an extramural. I took part in a few local shows, some plays, on-stage productions. Nothing like a little cat interference to make a podcast. Exciting. Love to hear what voiceovers Mrs. Kitty over there is able to perform.
Strawberry.
Perhaps we get into that a little bit later.
Yes.
We'll hear how she got involved into voiceovers a little later on, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so I think the stage productions was starting there. So it was really fun. I'd always been drawn to radio. So I thought, you know what, let me get involved in the radio station. Well, I initially started in the marketing space. I just joined the marketing team because they said, hey, you're doing marketing. We need some posters designed. You do some graphic design. Can you help us out with event management and such? So that's where it started. And then I was like kind of on a front row seat there of what happens in a radio station, which was great. I effectively signed up for the production team. And I guess from there, I just kind of got hooked on it. I said, I'm in love with performing arts. I've always loved this. And I guess this is a transition for me. It's still acting. And that's something I even coach my students on, or anyone who asks for advice these days, like, what is voice acting? I say, it's very important to remember it's voice acting. It's not voice reading. How do you emote that? How do you really bring the words on that page to life? And that's acting. You got to be able to pick up on intonation, pick up on what kind of body language or facial expression would you be using if you were talking this out on stage or on screen. And all of those same principles of acting still come into voice acting. You need to be a bit flexible behind the microphone, gesticulate, use your facial expressions and everything. Don't think because no one is seeing you, it's not going to come across, because the microphone is a magical thing. It picks up everything, even what you're not saying. So you need to always be conscious of that. And the more I got into doing jingles and radio station imaging and so on for the station, I realized that, for me, this is more the acting that I want to be involved in, because I felt that being on stage, being on camera, it was very limiting in a sense that, you kind of get typecast into roles. I kind of got typecast into playing Indian male characters, having a stereotypical voice, which everyone knows about, like the stereotypical Indian voice, like, hey man, how are you doing? What you doing? Hey, laka boss, laka. So, that's all great. And I mean, we can do that, sure. But I thought I want to have a bit more range than that. And so I decided that this was really the space for me, because effectively, if you could put on a voice, you could be anybody. No one sees you. You don't have to be black, white, Indian. You don't have to be male, female. You can even change in that regard. And it's basically whatever the script requires of you, whatever the client's brief or whatever the director's vision is, are you able to tap into that and bring that characteristic to life? And if you can, great, you've got the gig. And I felt that was so empowering to say it's all about your craft. It's all about your skill, your talent, and the rest doesn't even matter. It's just what can you bring in that moment to the listener, and how do you bring a script to life? So I think that's where it kind of kicked off. I got involved, in jingles on campus radio, and then just kept working that was 3 years while studying. And then once I had graduated and started off as an intern in a creative advertising agency, a digital ad agency, I then felt that it's something I should pursue on the side. Why just let it go? I had so much fun doing it. And some people had introduced me to the fact that you can actually, build a business out of this. So I thought, wow, that's a great thought, taking your passion and being able to, channel that into a living.
So do you still go out and look for jobs, or do people come and ask you to do voices without you having to ask?
I think early on it was very heavy marketing, and it still very much is. I do get referrals, but I think that's also because of the fact that I'm constantly promoting myself. I mean, I've been doing social media marketing a lot more. it is a little bit of a tough industry to break into immediately like that. I'm sure many established artists will also agree that as established as they are, it still is a challenging industry. Constantly have to be, working at it. So I think my take on it was that when I started, I decided to pursue a full-time career, let that be my kind of financial foundation, and allow me the flexibility and freedom to pursue a passion without that pressure on it. That if I don't make some gigs this week, I cannot eat. I cannot pay my bills. Something else could take care of that. The full-time job could take care of that. And I would just focus on nurturing this, letting it grow organically and blossom into something. So I think allowing it to grow organically like that was the greatest blessing I could have had. And yeah, while I continue to support myself, and in all that time, I'd keep learning about marketing tactics, new marketing strategies, following other voice artists to see how established guys had done it.
Oh, hello. My name is Edith, and I just love to sit on the front porch with my 9 little kitties, knitting my sweaters and scarves like the sweet old lady everybody thinks I am. That is, until those wretched neighborhood kids come around yelling so loudly. And then all I want to do is knit them a nice, tight, straight jacket.
I always look forward to getting off my shift so I can head on over to this here roadside diner. I don't know why them police boys up in New York City like them darn donuts so much anyways. 'Cause around these parts, there ain't nothing like a good old slice of pecan pie. This ain't a drill anymore, newbies. This is the front line, the real deal. It's time to bring out the big guns. And I don't mean those mounted weapons back there. You're soldiers now, and I'm counting on you. Your country's counting on you.
So tell us about your voice coaching. Do you do that by yourself?
So actually that's an interesting one. So I initially, when I was starting out, people would actually ask me, hey, I'm interested in voiceover. I get that as a direct message and think, oh, great, there's a potential gig here. Sure, what are you looking for? Radio commercial? Is it corporate narration? What are you looking for? No, I'd like to get into voiceover. Can you coach me? And I'm like, oh, well, I don't quite do that. I'm kind of like new myself. I don't know how I'd coach you. So I was like flattered, but I didn't really have the tools at that time. And eventually I started getting more and more of those. And I thought, you know what, maybe there's a way that I can actually help people out, because people are seeing the content I'm putting out. And clearly people are thinking that I can actually help them with this. And I recognized that I was getting better with my skills. So maybe there was something I could do here. But I thought, let me brush up on my skills, because right now I've kind of done it like self-taught, through self-research. I haven't really had coaching. And this was maybe about, 3 years, 4 years into it. And then I decided, you know what, let me try and find a workshop for this. And there was a lot that I even picked up from that, as much as it was an introductory voiceover workshop. And I didn't consider myself a total newbie. I went in with an open mind, and there was a lot of stuff that I did pick up on. And while I was there, I kind of, made a good impression on the guys from the SAVOA team. And they were saying, you know what, like we would say that you are at this stage like a semi-pro. And they said, yeah, so we feel that you're at this level where you could actually be more than just being a voice actor. You could teach this stuff with your marketing background, your business background. You're able to, we see the profile that you've been building on Instagram and all your social channels. So you're definitely doing like the right stuff in terms of building a brand. And that's what we want to do at SAVOA, to take it to that next level. So they wanted to actually expand into Durban, and they just didn't have someone there as a dedicated partner. And they said, I'm from Durban. How would you like to be the regional coach for us in KZN? And I started making it happen. So that's been 2 years, I guess, that I've been involved with that. And I feel it's been a very fulfilling experience. I just took a chance, went to a workshop myself as a student, and got an opportunity to start coaching, and it's just grown from there.
And you've got all this experience already, and so you can teach that to people who don't have any experience at all.
That's it.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier something about character development. Tell us a bit more about that.
Characters, I think, are the thing that everyone thinks about when you say voice acting.
Cartoons.
Exactly. They don't think commercials or radio ads and corporate narration. Like, what is that? That's like crazy. But there's this whole world that's like kind of the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more voiceover, but everyone knows cartoons, animation, feature films, Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks, and all of those. Growing up as a kid, that's also what you see. For as a kid, you don't know that there's people behind those voices in your favorite movies and such. I remember the first like voice I ever tried to do was actually watching Star Wars as like a 5-year-old kid imitating Yoda. So it's like, yes, the Force is strong with this one, very much so. So it's like started with that, and I was like, obviously that voice got a lot better as I went into teenagehood because voice breaks, so it allowed me to go gruffer. Before it was like, Force is strong with this one. It's like my brother's like, no, that doesn't sound like Yoda at all. Don't do that again. But it got better. And so I'd always grown up doing silly voices. Like I'd mimic people, I'd mimic family members. If we'd go to like comedy shows, I'd like mimic the punchlines that people would say or pick up on the accents that they used in comedy shows. Since I was small, I think my first inspiration for it came from actually the radio dramas of the 50s, 60s that my dad actually had some CDs of. It was crazy for me to be like, how do these people like make these sounds and these characters? And effectively then in the 60s, which was like where voiceover kind of like was born, it came out of radio dramas. People just standing by a microphone with this page in their hand, and they would make these sound effects with either their mouth or they had like Foley artistry, guys just using products or little items they had around and bashing them together to make certain sounds, like the whooshing of wind or, the stomping of feet and so on. That's why they refer to radio as the theater of the mind. And I feel that I really carry that into voice acting, where it's all about how do you build that character. And so that's where the inspiration came from those radio dramas, mimicking voices, just being able to annoy people. Like people keep saying, stop that, stop repeating what I'm saying, stop talking in that funny voice, and your parents are like, stop talking like that. Like, we have guests coming over, you can't be saying those things. For me, I just tried not to let that inner child die. And I try and keep that alive, like till this day. I think that really fuels my voice acting. So I think the characterization started from that point. And then when I got into voiceover, I just wanted to do more of that. I kind of went more into commercials, corporates. Kind of like your bread and butter. I guess there's like more of that work, unless you're specifically chasing animation only and finding agents or finding leads for that. But I think it started there. And even within corporate spaces, I still do character voices. It's not just my own voice as a straight read, but sometimes they want like a particular accent or something, whatever the brief is calling for. So I still get to play around with that, but very much the dream is to get into the animation space, like doing some web series and such. But yeah, in terms of how you develop those characters, I guess it just comes down to that practice and like being attentive. Maybe it's from years of doing drama and such at school. It's all about observation. Like how do you pick up on certain cues? And for me, that's what I say is how I get into character voices. There's always what I call like a lead in line, like something that the character would do that activates your voice in that way. Close your eyes and I'll picture Nelson Mandela is in the room. For 27 years, I was stuck on Robben Island, and it was the worst experience ever. I will never go back to Robben Island. Never and never again. And people are like, oh my gosh, I closed my eyes and it's like, he was right here. It's like, how did you do that? Because effectively, character voices are just, it's you projecting your voice, but it's manipulating the different parts of your body. You have your resonant chambers, as they call them, which is any point where the voice passing through your body is able to resonate within those areas so that you have a different pitch, tone, volume, or rhythm that's coming out, which is what people perceive as distinct voices or distinct sounds. So you have your mouth with your cheeks, your tongue, your teeth. There's different positions that you can use to manipulate the voice that you hear. And this is stuff that's also like known to people who do commercials, and not even character voices, but just hard sell, soft sell, or medium sell. It's like, do you project from down here in your diaphragm, like in your chest and outward, to get that? Get down to Game Today and you can gain amazing deals on this and that and more. Versus, talking about a BMW advert where you're talking more from your mouth and it's up close on the microphone, where it's like, the all-new BMW 3 Series. Amazing drive, amazing style, BMW. It's like you don't have any of that deep guttural sound coming through, but it's all up here. And it's a very distinct voice that you hear between those two takes. And it's the same thing with character voices. It's where do you place that kind of breath in your body to articulate in a particular way? So as I mentioned, there's those lead-in lines, and that's how I guess I develop the characters. I listen for those little nuances to a character or to a person. It's all about that. I think figuring out those little characteristics, idiosyncrasies of person, and being able to work that into how you change your body language, your posture, your facial expressions, all those elements, those physical elements come into the actual tone and the character portrayal. Yeah.
So
a
do
little
you
bit
do
of insight
stand-up
into
comedy?
the process. Oh no, so unfortunately not. Busy guy, couldn't manage to slot that into the mix. But yeah, I do love comedy. Comedy is a big influence, and it's something I'd encourage people to also follow. I think comedy is a big part for voiceover artists. You don't have to be a comedian as such. You don't have to go onto stage and do like shows around the world and stuff. But I think it's just
a performance.
It's a performance, exactly. And being a performance, there's a lot of skills that you have within that particular art which are transferable into voice acting. Comedy is great because it teaches you comedic timing, which is very important in voice acting as well. It's about playing the beats in a script. You don't just read through in like one long monotonous drone, but it's you need to have inflections, and you need to, sometimes it's not even what you say, but it could just be like a sound that you make, but it can still convey so much of emotion or so much of meaning for a scene, so you don't have to always be saying something, or even if you are saying something, the way you say it, like if you break up your word, that changes the delivery as opposed to you saying a sentence straight out. So I think comedic timing really does help you in developing characters. A lot of the time, characters tend to be a bit offbeat and quirky, even if they aren't comedic. There's some comedy to them. So I think understanding comedy, understanding comedic timing is really key to the voice acting craft.
But I'd like to ask you more also about marketing. How do you go from having all these characters and impersonations, voices in your head to getting the work? I know you mentioned a word of mouth earlier, but how do you do your marketing? Because now you're a marketing pro as well. So how do you put the two together?
So I like to tell people who are getting into voiceover as well. It's like, yeah, I want to get out there. I want to make money. Initially, I'm like, well, God bless you. We all want to make money. And I really hope you do. There's always like a process to it as well. You start off with the performance side, which we've covered a bit of how I got into that and how I do what I do, the technical side of it. But I think that's the foundation, understanding how it's done. Even actually before that, the foundation I would say is, and this builds into the marketing kind of lesson, is that it's influenced by this book that I've read by one of the marketing gurus who I follow, which is Sinek. I'm not sure if any of the viewers will be familiar with him, but he's actually, well, at the time when I first watched it in first year of varsity, he had one of the top 3 most watched TED Talks ever in the world. And that was the TED Talk about the golden circle, which is this idea that there are 3 circles in how leaders lead or how products are marketed. And it's basically the outside circle being your what, like what do you do? The inside circle being how do you do it? And the inside circle being why do you do it? And the whole idea is that, people are always marketing saying, what do? I do voiceover, buy my service now, like hire me, blah, blah, blah. Then some people take it a step further in the inside circle and the middle circle and say, how do I do it? Oh, I've got the best technology ever. I've got the most high-end studio. I've got the Neumann mic, or, whatever the case is. And so that's why I am the best. And then you have people who market on their why, like, why do they do this? And that's what I try to tell people to strive for. It's like understanding your why in your marketing. Like, why is your brand here? Why should someone choose you over another person? And it's not about positioning yourself directly to somebody else, but saying your truth. Like, I don't know about other people, but this is what I'm doing, and this is why I do this. So if it's that you're doing voiceover for you want financial freedom, you want to break away from your full-time job, perhaps want to do this full-time, let that drive you and say, like, you know what, that inspires you to be passionate, driven, and creative in what you do. And understand what is that thing that's driving you, because really, you can have whatever marketing tactics you want. You can promote yourself through social media, walk-ins, cold calling. I like to say that the tactics are kind of like there, but you need a strategy behind it. And there needs to be something deeper that drives you, because tactics or channels will come and go. There'll be a new social media platform, or there'll be a new form of TV, or whatever the case is. So don't rely on the channels as such, but rather, what is that thing that drives you? Because that's evergreen. And as I said before, people buy into your passion. They can see that. You don't have to tell them, I'm passionate about voiceover, buy from, hire me. People see that naturally, that you're giving that off. And so people don't buy what you do. They don't even buy how you do it. People buy why you do something. That's what I try to tell everybody. Start with that. Identify what is your why. Is it that you enjoy doing these voices because you love that art of storytelling, which I think for me is factoring into the why a lot. I mean, it's a composite why in my case, but one of those parts of it is that it's about that. It's about delivering happiness to people. I mean, people love stories. People love hearing character voices and so on. And if you can bring across a certain bit of joy or spread joy to people, are you able to deliver a story to inspire, empower, motivate, and share ideas? Because that's what you're doing in a commercial, in a corporate. You're trying to take a brand's idea and push it to people, or not even just push it onto them, but help them kind of internalize it themselves. So they don't just buy into it because it's like, okay, great, I get it, what you're saying. They're buying into, again, the why behind what you're putting out there.
If you're enjoying this interview, give us a thumbs up.
I think that's the foundation for me. It starts with why, and then you build from that. You see what are the types of voices that you can do, what are the niches that you want to explore. There's so many of those. So I think you also want to try and figure out like what is the one that you slot into, which one gets you like going the most, because you can't be everything to everybody. And then from there, you figure out your marketing strategy is, well, marketing 101 is knowing your audience. And so once you know your niche, the market you want to play in effectively, say it's radio commercials, corporate narrations. Okay, great. Who are the people that I need to target to get more leads in that space? If it's radio commercials, great. Maybe I need to approach radio stations. Let's see, who are the radio stations in my immediate area? Who are the radio stations nationally that I could maybe approach? Goodness, we have the internet now. So you effectively can be running a global business from home. So don't limit yourself to local, also think a bit broader as well. Know your market, say who are the people I need to target to get leads in that niche. And then even within those radio stations, like who are the people that I need to speak to actually get these leads? And you try and dig down and find direct people that you can speak to. And then that's where the magic starts happening. Marketing is effectively about relationships. It's about building relationships, nurturing them, and relationship building in that sense of marketing and business isn't always about me. What can I get from this? But it's about a mutual exchange. Like what can you each give to each other so that there's a mutually beneficial relationship. They're obviously receiving voiceover service from you. You're receiving payment, but that's also a point of difference for you. It's not just what type of voices you can do, but your other unique selling proposition or selling point can be the service that you offer. They interact with you as a service provider, and how is your interaction with them different from the next person? When they call you to say, we need a gig done urgently, do you give them like an immediate response, a response within the hour, or do you drag them for a week and then be like, oh, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'd love to do that gig. Oh, no, sorry, we've given that away to someone else. That's not great. And then they'll say like, okay, no, but we'll contact you in future. That is like the worst thing you can hear. It's like, no, we've got you on file. We'll call you. It's like, look, that's happened before. I haven't spoken to clients for like a year, 2 years. And all of a sudden they're just like, not even a, hey, how are you doing? Just like, here's a script attached. Please, can you get this to us by Thursday? And it's like, whoa, I've never heard from you in like 3 years. And now here you are. But the thing is, in that time, it's not just like by magic. I have been contacting those people. There'll be touch points like through reminder emails or just mails that I send out, which is general tips and stuff. It's just keeping those touches with the person. It might not be always to say, hey, I'm here. Do you have any work for me? That's a bit desperate. I'll admit I did that initially because I knew no better. I didn't know any better. But eventually you learn like there's ways to have those touch points with your potential clients. And so it's all about how can you keep doing that so that, you're building that relationship with them that says, yes, I'm a trusted service provider. I'm reliable. I'm professional. You're going to get great turnaround times. You're going to have great broadcast quality audio that I'm putting out for you from my studio. All of those little selling points, figure out what it is for you that works best, or that what you can really hang your hat on. And then you build that into your marketing messaging all the time. Marketing and sales go hand in hand. Sales is actually like making the deal, selling the goods, getting paid. Marketing isn't sales. Marketing is more keeping top of mind. It's like all the things that you do so that the people know. In my case, I have my personal branding, which is like voice artist Kav. And so it's like every time you see these posts, like it's drilled into your head, voice artist Kav, voice artist Kav. And it's like, I do voiceovers. Yes, voiceovers, commercials, characters, corporate narrations. Yes, all those things are drilled into you. And then eventually it clicks when they say, we've got a TV ad, we've got this. It's like, yeah, we need someone who's like, quirky, edgy, or whatever the case is. We need someone who does character voices. There's that guy Kav. He's done some great stuff on TikTok. I just saw last week he had a really fire TikTok. Can we get him involved here? That's what marketing is. It's about putting yourself out there, not being shy to put yourself out there. Help yourself and your brand remain top of mind so that when people are ready for sales, when they are ready to give you a lead or an opportunity, you're the one that they're thinking of versus the next competitor. So that's where it comes from.
Tell us, where can people reach you?
And so, yeah, you can get me on all major social media platforms. Facebook and Instagram would be at Voice Artist Kav. And if you want to reach out for any bookings, if you want to hear any of the voices that you may have heard in this podcast episode today, or any voices you think you might want to hear on your projects, you can drop me an email on bookings@voiceartistkav.com. Check out voiceartistkav.com as well, the website. My demos are up there, my corporate, commercial, and my character demo. So you can hear all the great voices I've done, bunch of testimonials, bunch of brands I've worked for. Everything you need to know about my services are up on my website.
Do you give private coaching for marketing?
I do, yes. So also I do that as part of the SAVOA branch. So there's obviously workshops that are run, which are weekend workshops, which are group settings. But then from there, there's also one-on-one sessions. So that's not just marketing, but even the technical side of it, the performance side. So it's kind of a composite type of coaching session. We obviously can split that over time. So depending on where you are in your journey, maybe you got the whole technical performance side down already, and you just want to know about marketing. So yes, we can delve just into that. So yeah, it is offered in terms of a range, but we can delve into specific topics. So if people do want to reach out to me for private coaching, go ahead. Same. bookings@voiceartistkav.com, and we take it from there.
Fabulous. Alrighty. Thank you so much, Kav. That was
Sweet.
So interesting.
Thank you so much, Gail. Yeah, and thanks to you, as I said before, about what your show does for the industry, opening it up and getting talent excited about this craft, as much as you and I are, and many of the other guests that you've had on here are. Yeah, thank you so much, and keep on doing what you're doing. I love it.
Thank you. We'll be seeing you around on social media and on the airwaves.
Okay,
Ciao.
coming soon to a cinema near you.
Ha!
Cheers, Gail. Thanks.
Ciao, ciao. Cheers, Kav. Thanks for watching Talking Voiceovers. If there's any topic you'd like us to discuss specifically on Talking Voiceovers, let us know in the comments below and we'll see what we can do.